Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The president launching his re-election campaign officially this week, but then already now some reported changes in that re-election campaign.
Yeah, Fred, this all has to do with some polling that leaked this week. There were reports out last week that indicated that President Trump was losing in certain key states to prominent Democrats, including Joe Biden, states that the president won back in 2016. The president denied that, saying that he was winning in every internal poll. But apparently, the president grew furious when those polls actually leaked and showed the president losing in those key states.
Yeah, he is losing in those key states. Now, it's 18 months. 18 months. Do you know what can happen between now and then? So much could happen between now and then. You have no idea what can happen between now and then. You don't. Hell, we haven't even had our first debate yet with the Democrats. So between now and then, the economy could flounder and Trump could be done. They could try to impeach. It could fail miserably and the economy can take off and he'll walk to a victory. Something horrific could happen and he could actually bring the country together. You have no idea what's going to happen between now and then.
Now we're learning, according to two campaign officials, that certain pollsters doing work for the campaign are being fired. One official, though, told CNN that they lament that now the campaign is more focused on ending the leak and trying to find who gave this information to the press than it is on trying to improve the president's numbers in key states like Pittsburgh and Florida.
By the way, for those of you not, Producer Phil, is Pittsburgh a state?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, cool. Just want to make sure. That'd be Pennsylvania. Chad, you're a jerk. Whatever. Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a good weekend. All those fathers out there, hope you had a good weekend. I just look at this and I say it's so early. And let's be real. The numbers, I even saw an article yesterday at 538 talking about the numbers, right? And the numbers were like, they're like, you can't even trust the numbers. And of all the people to say that, 538, which got it all wrong. Remember, Nate Silver, if you guys don't know who he is the guy that is the analytics guy. He had walked Hillary to the presidency as far as analytics and numbers went. And it collapsed around him. Because as we all know, buyers are liars. Meaning somebody who is going to talk to somebody about a person that they may want to elect or a person they may want to get rid of. Depending on how they think that person may judge them, they may give them a completely different answer comparatively to when a computer calls. But we are still 18 months away. 18 months away. I would be upset, though, if I was Trump when it comes to the leaking. But at times I sit back and I go, it's a fantasy, right? Some of this insanity of it all. You should take some of these numbers and be real about this and look around and say, all right, are these real numbers? Because it's not just my internal polls. It's everybody else's polls that have something similar to this. But I say that. I still don't think Buttigieg beats him in a race at this moment in time. Remember, 18 months is a long time to go. Do I think Biden beats him? So much depends on what happens in the next 16, 17 months leading up to that. At this moment in time, I still think he wins.
Even your own polls show you're behind right now, don't they?
No, my polls show that I'm winning everywhere.
I don't know. We've all seen these reports that with 15 out of 17 states, you spent $2 million on a poll and you're behind in 15 out of 17 states.
Nobody showed you those polls because those polls don't exist, George. Those polls don't exist.
They do exist. They absolutely do exist. And I'd be upset about the leak as well. Absolutely. I would be 100% upset about the leak. In saying that, though, long way to go. Absolutely a long way to go. And it'll get here soon enough. Is it going to come tomorrow? No. But it will come sooner rather than later. And it's hard to say who you're going to choose and go against when there is no leader in the clubhouse. Maybe Biden a little bit. Warren's coming on. They're going to have their first debate. We'll see how everybody looks. Warren's she's got to have a smile on her face because she's not taking on any of the top people in her group the first night. So she potentially could just really make a strong move. But you don't know what's going to happen. Because if you go and look at polls many, many, many months ago, and you saw that Jeb, and you saw all these other people, and Trump wasn't even on the page, and then it took off from there. You don't know what's going to happen. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Oh, SCOTUS has spoken.
The GOP held Virginia House of Delegates handed a blow by the nation's top court. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled they cannot challenge the lower court rulings surrounding racial gerrymandering because they do not represent the state. The lower court found 11 Virginia congressional districts were drawn with race as a primary factor. The state's attorney general had declined to appeal. Today's ruling proved an unusual alliance between conservatives Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch, siding with Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Ginsburg.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. And that gerrymandering thing is very big because we've talked about this, how you can design and draw up essentially invincibility when it comes to elections is massive. So this is a win for the Democrats for sure. And there's a lot of cases still on the docket, so we're going to be talking about them throughout the day. But I will tell you this. That surprises a lot of people today. It did surprise a lot of people that you had a 5-4 split with some conservatives going one direction that you wouldn't think they go, and some liberals kind of meandering over to the other side. So a very interesting situation in that. But there's still some stuff that's out there because this is the time of the year when they just kind of throw everything out there, and we'll see what happens from here on out with some of these things, including the bakery decision, same-sex decisions, a lot of things that are sitting out there that they're going to take up, and potentially some stuff that could be huge when it comes to immigration. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Hong Kong, baby, Hong Kong. Oh, my Lord, is this thing insane. Just explain how big this is. I want you guys to understand how big this situation is in Hong Kong. What they're the leader over there, Lam, what they are upset about is the fact that the law that they want to, the bill that they essentially want to pass means if you do something in Hong Kong criminally, you will be transferred over to the mainland China, where you will have to face criminal charges, right? So that's scary. Secondly, you're looking at 1 million plus people in the streets, sometimes even more. To put that in perspective, could you imagine if tomorrow 50 or 60 million people took to the streets in America? That's how big this is. And she has since backed away. But the fear is, and as I was trying to explain to people, Hong Kong was turned over in July of 97 from British rule to China. Why this is important is because it is a massive hub. I think it's the 22nd largest economy in the world. It is a massive financial hub. If this went south and they got everything they wanted, the Chinese have already started to, their whole thing was, we're not going to do anything. We're letting Hong Kong be its own sovereign world. And since then, they have more and more pushed politicians that can only be essentially picked by the Chinese government, right? On top of that, if they were to go further in Hong Kong and do these kind of things, imagine what they could do to people they find to be enemies of the Chinese government, which is get them on trumped-up charges, bring them to the mainland, never heard from again. And that includes also people who financially may go against the Chinese government and some of the way that they do their business. That's a scary, scary thing.
We knew that the crowds would really hit the streets again this weekend, but what we didn't really predict was what happened tragically on Saturday night. A very young man was demonstrating from the top of a scaffolding when he fell and he died. He has become a hero on the streets here. People have been laying flowers and lighting candles in his honor.
Yeah, so now they've got a martyr, and they've got somebody they can point to, which is it is going to get ugly very, very soon, I think, potentially there. And why this also matters outside of just Hong Kong, if you think Hong Kong's the last of it, remember China's big thing. What do they want to do? They want to grow. They want to get their tentacles everywhere. They want to push their ideas. Who do you think's next? Taiwan's next. What do we do? What's the world do if Hong Kong goes down, essentially, even though they're part of, quote unquote, China, but they promised the world they weren't going to butt in and do anything and allow them to their own sovereignty. What if they go down? Taiwan is next. And that could be ugly because people would have to make choices. People are going to have to make real choices. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. On top of all of that, we've got Iran.
The next 10 days, Iran will break the uranium stockpile limit that was set by that 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. This is a first. The Trump administration had already withdrawn from the deal, but Iran has stayed within the limits. And of course, President Trump has warned that the U.S. will not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, but it looks like they're moving that way. So they're giving him 10 days, and essentially they're going to start producing again. And the Europeans are looking around. And it's very interesting. The only nation that free nation, if you will, is Japan, that has any kind of relationship whatsoever. And we are putting big pressure on them, saying, hey, don't be buying their oil. And that is really crushing Iran right now. Don't be buying their oil. Japan's in a tough situation because we could be threatening them with some sanctions if they do. And so they're essentially, the Europeans are like, don't do any of these things yet. And they're like, no, you know what? We may have to. We may have to. So what happens from there? That's a big question that remains to be seen. If they actually do this, what do the Europeans do? Right? And you had last week the attacking of the tankers. Adam Schiff, right, who cannot stand the president, came out and said, oh, yeah, it's the Iranians. It's the Iranians. We know it's the Iranians. We know exactly what happened.
One option is to continue with modernized reactor, heavy water reactor. Another option is to go back again to the old type of reactor.
We'll see. So they say they've got two options there. We'll see what they're going to do. Are they bluffing or is this real? And what does this do to ramp up tensions throughout? Because it's not just us. You've got the Saudis, you've got the Israelis, the last two people on earth, right? We're third in line for them not getting a nuclear weapon. Saudi Arabia and Israel are first and second. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you had a phenomenal weekend. Took care of the dads. Spoiled them a little bit. We don't spoil them like mom, right? We did them a solid, let them kick back, put their feet up, maybe take a nap in the middle of the day. Hope you did that. Happy belated Father Days to all you dads out there. Every day, thousands of dogs are being euthanized, while at the same time we lose 20 veterans a day to suicide. And I'm working with a company called Wounded Paw Project. What they do is they connect our furry best friends with our nation's hero. They go in and rescue dogs who would otherwise be euthanized. Train them to be service dogs for veterans, first responders, and their family. It is incredible, but they need your help. They're looking for a vehicle donation. They don't care what you have, right? It can be an extra car, truck, RV, and boat. People say, oh, who has that? You know, be surprised. A lot of people out there have cars or RVs or trucks. They don't touch them. They sit there for a very long time, and they're just more of a nuisance. So you think, oh, I might sell it, but I'm not going to. This is a perfect thing. You're going to get a tax-deductible gift, and what you're going to do is you're going to be saving a paw to save a life. It's incredible. They also take cash donations. Well, again, tax-deductible. Go to woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org to find out more, or call 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. It really is an amazing organization. Check out everything at woundedpawproject.org. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where the sensible center hangs out. Hey, you! That doesn't mean you can put your feet up on the table.
You're despicable. This is Chad Benson.
No progressives, leftists, or snowflakes were killed in the making of the Chad Benson Show. That we know.
With responsibilities. And just like you get a permit in many places to hunt and in every state to drive, we think you need a license if you're going to buy a firearm.
Swalwell is going to fix gun violence in this country. Speaking of gun violence, did you see what happened today? There was about 1.5 million people, not in Hong Kong marching, but excited in Toronto. And 2 people got shot, celebrating the Raptors' victory. Rapture. Victory. Swalwell solving everything. You could do it. He's not going to do it. Of all the people that have a chance, he's down there at the very, very, very bottom. Like the super very bottom. Like he limped. He's behind Andrew Yang. And I saw, was it over the weekend, Mark Cuban said, I think I would tell everybody this is how we solve the gun violence in this country. First and foremost, we keep our hands off everybody's guns and promise everybody, put it in writing inside the Constitution, we will never confiscate your guns. I was like, really? Right? Like that's deviating in some ways from what a lot of people think of him. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Somebody who was out and about campaigning was this guy who had to answer questions. His name's Joe Biden, and he was at the Poor People's Campaign. I don't even know what that is.
So we have a three-part question. One, what are you going to say about this lie of scarcity? Two, how are we going to immediately and fully, not incrementally, eliminate poverty? And three, what can you say about your view on military spending and the militarization and the problem of warmongering that's happening in this country and world?
Now remember, we always talk about, kids, we always talk about people overreact. Poverty's at its lowest level in history. Less than 10% of the globe lives in extreme poverty. And as even they went back and they've redone the numbers, some of you haven't seen, about how many people live in poverty here in this country, and they've redone those numbers, and it's not what a lot of people think. Here's the first thing he said he would do.
Number one, we have the greatest income inequity in the history of the United States of America since 1902. And the fact of the matter is, there is plenty of money to go around. The first thing I would do as president was eliminate the president's tax cut.
There you go, because that's how you win. Eliminate. Now, what tax cuts? Are you eliminating them all, or are you not eliminating them? Meaning, are you going to go, I'm getting rid of everything, or I'm only getting rid of the personal tax cuts for the top 1%? How are we doing this? I want to see how this works. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays itself out. I've always said I'm totally fine with the tax cuts for corporations. You could have left everything else the same. Either way, we still bring in a ton of money. We overspend. I think we know that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show was your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Phoenix Police. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's not been a good, few years for them, and it got worse. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Tonight, Phoenix police on the defensive. The city's mayor lashing out after this chilling video. Cops heard threatening to shoot a pregnant woman with 2 young children in her arms. The alleged crime that brought police to the scene, their 4-year-old allegedly stealing a doll from a dollar store. Today, the police chief saying sorry and that the incident is under investigation.
I apologize to the family. I apologize to the community. But at the end of the day, there's more to the story.
Yes, there is more to the story, but the story has not only gone national, it's gone international. Phoenix again, less than 2 weeks removed from another scandal. Several departments across the nation, including Phoenix, where they looked at supposedly private internet Facebook posts of officers deemed to be bigoted and racist, among other things. They've had several issues with shootings over the past couple of years, and here we are again with an incident caught on camera. Now, is there other issues? I think it's fair to say, yeah, there may be some other issues that we need to look at here. Is that the entire story, what we saw? As you always know, if you listen to my show, it is not the entire story. Jerry Williams today on KTAR's Morning News with Jim Sharp talking about this. Here is the police chief, who, by the way, is an African-American woman.
Remember that I still have 2 active investigations going on right now. So we have the pending litigation as well as an internal investigation. So our officers were noticed about adults shoplifting in a store. The manager said, hey, those individuals are shoplifting. Our officers go to make contact. They get in a vehicle and they flee. The vehicle stops the first time and an adult female gets out and we arrest her for warrants.
All right. So she had misdemeanor warrants. She was arrested. Now, it's not over yet.
The vehicle continues to flee again and then stops in an apartment complex. From there, that's where the unprofessional behavior and behavior that is not in keeping with what I expect with my employees, nor the other 2,900 officers who are out there who maintain professionalism all the time.
So they didn't stop twice. And when they did stop, then they took off again. Were there more things taken? Was it really worth this? $10 million is what they want. $10 million is what they're asking the city to pay. If you look at the video, right? And again, I'm a white dude, right? I'm a white guy. You look at the video and you say to yourself, is that a little bit much? Is it not a little bit much? I mean, I watched Live PD. I see a lot of stuff. You get adrenaline going. You're chasing somebody, but there's a woman who's pregnant with a baby in her hands. You know, it's not the simplest thing in the world. It isn't. But there's definitely talk about institutional control when it comes to what's going on in Phoenix. And it's now got world attention because Jay-Z's popped up.
Jay-Z is now offering the couple legal help. His company Roc Nation released a statement calling the video the picture of hate, adding, if they need our help, we are at their disposal.
I don't know where they go from here, but I do know this. There's a lot of problems. And it's not just this. And I asked the question earlier today, if this is a white dude who's the chief of police, what kind of pressure is he under to resign as opposed to an African-American woman who she said she's not going anywhere. She's going to stay and try to fix. She said she is the person to fix this. But I look and I see lots of problems. And I have to ask myself the question, have you lost institutional control? You going to the streets and talking to people, you having citizen town halls to talk to people, isn't fixing what seems to be a systematic, potentially, as far as the people are concerned, a citywide issue with officers. And she's got, like she said, she's 2,900 employees that she has to deal with. That's a hard thing. It's not like you're a football coach or a basketball coach where you've got a few assistant coaches, you got a couple, recruiting, scouts, and you've got your team and everything. There's 2,900. You can't be responsible for every second of every day of what somebody does. In saying that, there's a lot of issues here. Absolutely a lot of issues here. Even Sharpton's talking about it.
I think about that young man talking about his child, and this is their first interaction with police. That's the life lesson that child is being taught, is that in that moment, that police officer was trying to hurt her and to hurt her parents. That's unacceptable.
They want $10 million, $2.5 million for, I guess, everybody that was in the car that day. Nobody was arrested. And everybody, and I said this, everybody's got a child, has gone into a store, got into the car, started to drive away to see that your child has something, a piece of candy, a toy that you didn't know they had because you're too busy doing other things, and that's happened. Was the language over the top? That was one of the questions I asked today. Jerry Williams was in here earlier today, and the whole staff, and one of the questions was that we were talking to one of them off the side, and I said, is the language a huge part of this? Had it been a little bit more subdued, could that have been something? Or was this whole thing overblown? I always joke about the fact that I love Live PD, and I watched this weekend, right? Friday night, I watched Live PD. There was a portion in Live PD where this guy gave chase to another guy who just got out of the car and he took off. This guy gives chase, right? And at first, the cop was being cool, put him in the back of the car, just, try to talk to somebody, and then boom, away he goes. So away that person goes, he gives chase. By the way, I thought for a moment, this guy's going to get away and this officer's going to pass out. And then we're going to have the poor Live PD guy hold the camera, chase the guy down. But they go through like a water and like this little river thing. And they both have their hands on their knees, just like down. And it looked like, okay, could this be overblown? Sure enough, the guy had in his pocket a gun with one in the chamber. And he gave a swift kick to the guy, because this is how this whole thing started, was a sweeping of the leg. Guy's in cuffs, sweeping of the leg. It's never as simple. And we see a portion of something. We don't see the whole thing. It's not an easy job but there are questions being asked, and I don't think we're getting the right answers.
It's hard enough to be 6 months pregnant in 100 degrees, but to be 6 months pregnant with a baby in your arms and to be and have a gun pointed at you and the baby and be told to put that baby down on 100-degree ground, that's truly barbaric.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, black, white, green, orange, purple, anybody would be on pissed in a situation like that. Here's the other thing that's going to happen. They're going to dig deep, deep, deep into this guy's life. They're going to go everywhere they possibly can and try to find out every single thing. Did he have warrants? He was driving on suspended license? What has he done in the past, Rayvon Ames? What has gone on? How many things? And that's the sad thing. But that's what we do nowadays, right? Like you've got to present the other side, if you will. And, but Jerry Williams has come out and apologized. And I think that was a mistake immediately, because by doing that, you've somewhat admitted guilt and you're setting yourself up for a major settlement. Not knowing the entire story. And I know you walk that fine line as a chief of police of trying to convey to the public that you've got things handled and you are watching over what your employees are doing. And at the same time, you know that you must also have at times your employees' backs who are going to get accused in many cases, things they haven't done. And you don't want to lose their confidence either. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. So Kyle Kashuv, who is a Parkland shooting survivor, pro Second Amendment activist, right? He's gone out there with all the Parkland things, working on school safety and the whole nine yards, got into Harvard. He is part of Harvard, right? One of his big dreams was to go to Harvard. Scored like 1550 or 1560 on the SATs. He had a weighted GPA of 5.4, I think, which is insane. Like, he graduated number 2 at Parkland in his school of his graduating class, like 600, 700, 800, something like that. He was 16 months before what took place on a Google Docs goof around note thing. He and his friends were being shocking, and they said a bunch of stupid, horrible things, racist, bigoted, just as he called it, idiotic and inflammatory. They've rescinded. Except, nope, we don't want you here. Right? They went through this entire dog and pony show of him coming out after he'd found out. Because this is the world. This is my fear of some of the things that we've done in the world. How many of you would like to be remembered for something you said or did when you were 16 years old? Anyone? And now what we have are people who are sandbagging, if you will, holding back something, waiting for that right moment to strike, so they can have a gotcha moment. We don't know the names of any of the other kids that were in this thing, but him. Right? The left-leaning media has destroyed this kid. People are like, well, he's getting what he deserves. I'm like, really? He's getting what he deserves? They've got real people who go to these schools from NYU to Harvard to Yale who've committed real crimes. You had a woman who's, I think her name was Melissa Jones, who was in Indiana State Prison for 20 years of the 50 that she was sentenced to for killing her 4-year-old. This guy said some horrible things and is apologizing, called them offensive, idiotic, inflammatory, said he was trying to shock his friends. Is it right? Well, Harvard can do what they want. I mean, my God, look what they're doing to the Asian kids, right? Like, they're trying to not allow Asian kids in there, essentially, right? They're discriminating against them. There's lawsuits everywhere on that. But this just feels to me like, an activist mob mentality moment, an opportunity to go after somebody. I asked the question, would they have gone after David Hogg if he would have said some of these things? David Hogg, who, by the way, didn't get in. Laura Ingraham makes a half-assed joke, which is the greatest thing that's ever happened to David Hogg when it comes to his schooling, if you will. And out of nowhere, they try to destroy Laura Ingraham. And I'm no big fan of Laura Ingraham. Don't listen to her show. I don't watch her show. But I thought, okay, they're coming for. And magically, he's now going to the school that he wants to go to, Harvard. Who didn't have the grades that this kid had. Not even close. Right? Good grades. Right? Producer Phil and I would have took those in a heartbeat, but not even close. But it's the gotcha moments. And we've seen it in pro sports. Guys making his major league debut. Next thing you know, he said something when he was 16 or 15, and he's now 23, and it's 8 years later, and all of a sudden, he goes out to the mound, and they release a ton of tweets and this, that, and the other. It's this got you kind of, we're coming after you, but we're going to wait a certain time to get it. I find that to be ridiculous. I do. And he's tried to get out in front of it. And it's not working. And so, and here's the other thing. Because of this, what other schools are going to take him? Some schools may take him, right? This guy was Ivy League bound, but what other schools are going to take him because of the heat and pressure? He's taking a gap year, which may help, but still. It's such a joke. It really is. The gotcha moment thing. What he said was idiotic and stupid, and he's apologized, and all of us have said things in our life that if based on today's sensibilities and wokeness, that we would all be in trouble for. Especially if we had a little notoriety. Sad. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Feel free to tweet at me, kids. I do it. I do love hearing from you. I try to answer everybody, and I try to answer everybody back when it comes to texting as well and all of those kind of things. I don't always have a chance to do it, but I do try to do it. The United States of America women's soccer team won yesterday 3-0. Good for them. All right, good for them. I applaud them on that. Could have been 7-8, 9-0. The goalie was amazing for Chile, but they did win pretty convincingly. Once again, our goalie had, I don't think, really anything to do. So Thursday's the big game. They play Sweden. Battle of the Hotties. Oh, Chad, you're so awful. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Oh, man, MyPillow. Get a good night's rest tonight. Why? Because of MyPillow. MyPillow. I don't know how long have MyPillow. Like 24 months, something like that. 2 years. It's like a baby. It's 24 months. I've had them for a while, and I love them. Sleep well. 7+ hours of real sleep last night. Was delicious. Here's what they're doing for my listeners. Something they've never done. It's the best offers. Lowest price ever offered to my listeners, which is 2 premium pillows. Less than $70. 60-day money-back warranty, and it is the same MyPillow, made in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty, and yes, machine washable and dryable. What are you waiting for? Nothing to lose. $34.99 per pillow, less than $70 for a 2-pack of premium pillows from MyPillow. Lowest price ever. Now, how do you get it? Go to MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com. Use my promo code Benson. That's MyPillow.com, or call 800-983-4975. And again, use the promo code Benson. You're going to get the best pillows. 2 premium pillows, less than $70. 60-day money-back guarantee. Nothing to lose. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
Oh, Taylor Swift. T-Swift, we call her around here on the Chad Benson Show.
And we see you over there on the internet, comparing all the girls who are killing it. But we figured you out. We all know now. We all got crowns. You need to calm down. You need to calm down.
That's her new song, which is, I guess, it's she can't win for losing and lose for winning. It's a song that essentially talks about how you can be a great ally to the LGBT community, but the LGBT community, a lot of them aren't having it and are mad at her because we live in the world of anger for doing this, because she is capitalizing on, I guess some people said, the coolness of queer culture. And you're just like, Why don't they say the same thing about Macklemore and Same Love? I can't stand Macklemore. We used to have Douche of the Week when we first started the show, and every week was Macklemore. Every week. Every single week. He's just the worst. Oh, T-Swift, I'm sorry. Pretty Woman was originally called 3000. All right? That was the name of the movie. 3,000. And Julia Roberts is supposed to star in it. The ending of that movie, and the movie itself, was going to be gritty. It was going to be much more adult-themed, if you will. And in the end, it ends with her in the alley being essentially thrown $3,000 cash, and she's just standing there. But they went bankrupt, the movie company that owned it. And over a weekend, literally, Friday they're fine. By Monday, they're bankrupt. So what happened was Disney and everybody bid, and they got it, and they changed everything up. And we've been talking about, you got to do it now, right? Like, you got to do that movie. I want to see that movie. Not this fairy tale movie. Let's see the real 3,000, as they called it. You called something else, right? Because that's what we do now. We take movies that were once big, and we redo them, but we make them grittier. Like, you remember the first Batman movies with Michael Keaton? They're not like now, right? Jack Nicholson is the Joker. Have you seen the Joker now? It's really gritty. Let's do the same thing with Pretty Woman, if that's the way it was originally supposed to be. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love hearing from you. A lot of you chiming in on the kid that didn't get into Harvard from Parkland, saying he got what he deserved for saying those horrible things. Maybe he learns a lesson. Maybe he does. Maybe there's no forgiveness in this world anymore. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The next 10 days, Iran will break the uranium stockpile limit that was set by that 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. This is a first. The Trump administration had already withdrawn from the deal, but Iran has stayed within the limits. And of course, President Trump has warned that the U.S. will not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
Yep. And now we're sending another 1,000 troops to the Middle East to try to ease some tensions, I guess. That's what they're saying. And I think part of that is a preemptive, because you got to think about this when it comes to the Middle East. A lot of the Middle East, as much as they hate us, should be thankful, because Israel is no joke, as many of these countries have found out with wars against the Israelis. And a lot of times it's because of us that things don't maybe get out of hand quickly. What's going to happen from this? I could not tell you, but I will tell you it is feeling uglier and uglier. You had what took place last week, which was not good. You had the Japanese, who are one of the only Western free democracy countries, if you will, that has anything to do with Iran. They were talking with Iran. Iran desperately needs them to purchase oil, and we've told Japan, don't do it. Nope, not going to do it. There's sanctions on there for a reason, and it is what it is. Plus, one of those tankers, while not flying a Japanese flag, apparently was a Japanese ship. So it's not a good situation. They are struggling, and now they're looking at the Europeans saying, we're going to break this thing. We may have to break this thing. And this could get ugly fast.
You can have your assessment. I have your assessment. The people on the streets can have their own assessments. Assessment is reliable when it is based on evidence, on the facts.
That right there is Ambassador Hamid Badshidad talking about that. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't. What I do know is right now, tensions are growing because they are feeling it. They are feeling it in a major way. We've cut off their money. They have very few friends that will do any kind of business with them at all. And the ones who do business don't do enough business to keep them afloat. They're feeling the crunch, as evident by the two issues last week. When Adam Schiff, who is not a fan of President Trump, comes out and says, it's no doubt in my mind, this is the Iranians. That's something where you stand by and go, what's happening here? And they want their sanctions relieved.
There should be no relieving of sanctions for their malign and unacceptable behavior.
And there's not going to be. There is not going to be. Now, is there something new to come out of it? It's possible. Can we get them to a table where we've got something a little bit more that we can get from them? It's possible. But right now, it's ugly with the potential to get uglier. And we're sending 1,000 troops there, which I'm not a fan of. And you've got a situation where Israel is, they're waiting at any given time to unleash some sort of hell that sets back their nuclear program in decades. Saudi Arabia and Israel have now become these weird kind of pals because they have a common enemy, which they both hate more than each other. Talk about some tensions. That is an ugly place right now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Here's a story for you. Don't mess with young Braden.
It went by really fast, and I knew that I didn't have any time to think about what I was going to do. He pointed a pellet gun at me that was located in our house, and I knew that it wasn't loaded, so I just sat down and got in my closet like he told me to.
Yep, got in his closet. So here's an 11-year-old kid, intruder coming to his house, North Carolina, has a pellet gun. He knows it's not loaded. Say, hey, you need to sit your butt down. He says, okay, I'll do that. But he's just getting started.
He went into the living room to grab my phone to make sure I didn't call the 911 or anything. When I saw him try to put it in his pocket, I grabbed my machete off of my wall and went to hit him, and I hit him in the back of the head, like right here. I'll be going into Hawfields.
Hawfields?
Yes.
Can you spell that for me?
I just think all parents should teach kids.
If they come in the door, you let them have it.
What? Pops. I said earlier to producer Phil and producer Anthony, they're lucky this kid didn't have a gun, because I don't think there would be any second thought about whether or not he'd pop a cap.
I knew I had to act in the heat of the moments. Always have your kids prepared for anything. You shouldn't have done what you've done. You're better off to get a job than breaking into other people's house.
You know, somebody's going to say, oh, that's racism right there. Kid went Michael Myers and Jason on him. Goodness me. Could you imagine doing that at 11? I don't know if I could imagine. I'm trying to think back to what 11 was like, because now that we're going to hold everybody accountable for things, could you do something? Could you imagine like 11? Ugh. I don't think I don't remember what I was like at 11. I don't remember, like 15, 16, 17. Yeah, you could say that. But 11, I don't know. Man, that kid went at it, though. So they caught one. I guess somebody else is out there, the kid that got hit in the head. And I think they're young. They're older than him, but still. That kid went at it. And you could hear Dad. I told him, just do it. Just do it. Go ahead and do it. Well, they did. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Georgia. Oh, Georgia.
Stacey Fox at Planned Parenthood Southeast says the phones have been ringing off the wall.
In fact, we had to set up a separate informational line for our patients.
They're calling because they're worried that tough new abortion laws are being enforced now. But that's not the case. Still, networks of people dedicated to helping women find safe abortions more than 40 years ago are now being resurrected across the country.
To make sure that women have the resources they need to travel, the information about where to go.
Yeah, this is the battle that's coming. Georgia is losing some business, a good portion of business. Georgia is losing in some ways. You've got and Georgia, Louisiana, a few other southern states, in particular North Carolina, stuff like that, are huge movie industry, and they're talking about pulling it. We'll see if that actually happens or not. But now you're getting stars saying, I'm not going to go there.
I don't want nobody telling me how I can control my body.
Tiffany Haddish over the weekend became the first performer to cancel shows in Atlanta over Georgia's new abortion law that outlaws abortions once a heartbeat is detected, possibly as early as 6 weeks. Haddish telling TMZ Sunday night,
If I can't have control over my body, and if no other woman can have control over her body, why would I perform there?
The law, which is being challenged, is set to go into effect next year, and many Hollywood stars and studios are thinking about boycotts.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, is it the virtue signaling? Do I understand why? Yeah, but I also understand states' rights. And here's something else, and it was pointed out last week that if Roe v. Wade was overturned tomorrow, nothing changes. Well, yeah, Chad. No, it doesn't change as far as in your state, they can already go and put restrictions on it to the point of the possibility of you having an abortion potentially slim to none. Doesn't mean other states will. And doesn't mean every state's going to take up this. And you see what the states are trying to do now. And these laws, and I remind people, these laws are going to be challenged over and over again in courts, over and over again, appealed up to the highest level to see what takes place there at the Supreme Court. And by the time we may get some sort of ruling on them, it would be 2020 potentially, and the votes have come and gone, and there could be new people coming in that could change everything. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Saw those, was 180 CEOs last week signed that thing that says that abortion and choice is vital to their business. You're like, okay. Feels a little virtue signaling, but you do what you do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
Even your own polls show you're behind right now, don't they?
No, my polls show that I'm winning everywhere.
I don't know. We've all seen these reports that with 15 out of 17 states, you spent $2 million on a poll and you're behind in 15 out of 17 states.
Nobody showed you those polls because those polls don't exist, George. Those polls don't exist.
They don't exist? Sometimes he's in denial, like a guy that's in a rock band and he's a really good singer, but he wants to play guitar and they just don't let him plug anything in, but he thinks he's playing. Does that make sense? They did exist. They do exist. You have issues. Now, it's 18 months away. We know buyers are liars in a sense that, you're not going to get straight answers anymore when it comes to polls. And between now and say January, polls are going to fluctuate all over the place. As long as the economy's hot, once there is a clear person that has emerged as the leader, those polls, I think, will change tremendously. But a lot can happen between now and next year. So those polls early on matter more for the Democrats than they do for the Republicans and for Trump.
The president launching his re-election campaign officially this week, but then already now some reported changes in that re-election campaign.
Yeah, for this all has to do with some polling that leaked this week. There were reports out last week that indicated that President Trump was losing in certain key states to prominent Democrats, including Joe Biden, states that the president won back in 2016. The president denied that, saying that he was winning in every internal poll. But apparently, the president grew furious when those polls actually leaked and showed the president losing in those key states.
Yeah, and he was pissed and angry, and stuff got out. You know, internal polling got out. That should be like, you should be angry about that, right? You should be.
Now we're learning, according to 2 campaign officials, that certain pollsters doing work for the campaign are being fired. One official, though, told CNN that they lament that now the campaign is more focused on ending the leak and trying to find who gave this information to the press than it is on trying to improve the president's numbers in key states like Pittsburgh and Florida.
Which, by the way, as we like to point out, Pittsburgh is not a state, but we understand what you're trying to say there. We do. Lot of time between now. The only polls you should look at, if you're going to look at polls this early, and now it's okay because we're going to have a debate here in a little over a week's time. So you could start looking at Democratic polls because there's a massive field, and it is going to, it will weed out a decent amount early, but there will be a logjam for a while. So you can look at those polls. That's real. And how do they fare against the president? Well, let's see who it is. Let's see exactly who it is that emerges. And then you could start looking at polls February, March, April that, start to actually matter. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. The U.S. women's national team won yesterday. Massive changes in their team. Everybody's played now. Every single person has played, but the 2 backup goalies. So they made huge changes in the 13-0 victory compared to yesterday to the 3-0 victory to Chile.
We knew going into this it was going to take 23 players. It's still going to take 23 players to win this. But now we got to roll the sleeves up because we got a mountain to climb. And Sweden's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough match. We've obviously made it into the knockout rounds, but we got to take care of Sweden first. And one game at a time.
One game at a time. She did the golf clap. After she scored Carly Lloyd, she did the golf clap, saying, she wanted to take away a bit of the controversy, I guess, and shut some people up over the excitement of the celebrating 13-0. Yesterday's game was 3-0, but it wasn't that close. It wasn't that close at all. It could have been 8-10. I mean, the goalie, they hit the post like 4 times, and the goalie was just had the game of her life against the U.S. So they'll play Sweden, which will be a decent matchup. I still expect them to beat them 2-3-4-0, maybe more. But they'll have they'll definitely have an opportunity to see what they're made of. But I like the golf clap thing. I'm still, a lot of people got mad at me last week because I think what they did running up the score, because yesterday they were up 3-0. Right, so up 3-0. They spent the last 10, 15 minutes kind of knocking the ball around, really not going forward, but maybe once or twice. Wasn't that way against Thailand. Thailand, everybody wanted the goal to say, I got a goal. I got a goal. Look at this. I got a goal. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Tomorrow night, Trump is going to be rocking and rolling in Orlando, and they're getting themselves ready.
Rest assured that we have basically incorporated everything and anything that will guarantee the safety or the protection of those that are coming to Orlando.
Yeah, so there's going to be at I think it's the Amway Center, and it is going to be very, very interesting to see how he rolls this, because he has not stopped campaigning in a lot of ways. Trump is still doing what Trump does, and he's still out doing his thing, so he's not really stopped campaigning. He's always out doing his stuff. That's Chief Orlando Roland out there in Florida talking about what they're going to be doing. And guess what? There will be protesters. Oh, yeah.
Our team basically has been in communication with those groups to make sure they understand what the boundaries are for them. But everything so far has been through a permitting process.
Which is good, right? You'll find a lot of people, though, there tomorrow night. A lot of crazies, a lot of looky-loos. Just as many looky-loos show up at things like that, because they want to see the chaos and the craziness, right? And wherever Trump goes, there's chaos and craziness. So tomorrow night should be no different as he kicks off his 2020 campaign. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. They promised they were going to stop spending ridiculously. They haven't. We've got the Book of Pork. Yeah, the Congressional Pig Book is out. What's in there? Tom Schatz joins us. Citizens Against Government Waste. Oh, there's a lot of oinky oink in this Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Money, 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 money. Never met a politician who doesn't like to spend other people's money, and they do spend it big time. Joining us now is Tom Schatz. He's the president of Citizens Against Government Waste. The 2019 Congressional Pig Book is out, and you actually had a pig there, right? A live potbelly pig named Faye from Richmond, Virginia, when you rolled this thing out, Tom, and there is a lot of waste in this year's budget. Am I correct?
Absolutely. The 2019 Congressional Pig Book was introduced with a live pig, as we have for many, many years. And in the fiscal year 2019 appropriations bills, we found 282 earmarks costing $15.3 billion. That's up 4% in the cost from last year, but it's more than double the cost in 2017. And obviously heading in the wrong direction. It's also more than half of the record $29 billion in 2006.
You know what's crazy is I always hear, the Republicans are, they're fiscal. They're not. They're fiscally irresponsible as well. And the reality is I sit back and I look at this and I said, I don't see any fiscal responsibility in spending, because no matter how much money we bring in, Tom, it doesn't matter, because we're going to figure out a way to outspend it. And some of this stuff is insane. The most insane thing of all, I want to touch on this first, is the F-35 joint fighter jet that is, 8 years past due, double what it was supposed to cost. This is the perfect example of government waste.
Well, absolutely, and the fact that the Congress added $1.8 billion for 16 additional F-35s across the services, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, indicates that they just aren't paying attention to how much this is, how expensive this has become. These are planes that the Pentagon didn't ask for. Not only is the cost nearly double the initial estimate, it's 18 years behind, it's been in development for 18 years, and it's 8 years behind. And then the lifetime maintenance and operation costs will be $1 trillion, and that's up 20% from 2015. Everything's just going to keep going up, and they just don't have control over this expenditure.
Talking to Tom Schatz, the president of Citizens Against Government Waste. The 2019 Congressional Pig Book is out, and there's lots of pigs, lots of pork inside this pig book. Indeed, you talk about this is the most expensive weapon in U.S. history. This F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, and it's again $1.2 trillion is what this thing's going to cost to maintain. And I keep asking myself again, over and over again, why is it that they continue to spend money when they're not even asking for money to be spent on things like this? It is so ridiculous the way that we waste so much money. We have so many other problems that really need to be addressed, and it's a joke.
Well, unfortunately, there are very few consequences for wasting money in Washington. The consequences are certainly better at the state and local level. People have more direct interest, a little more control. But here in Washington, it's such a big number, and it's so much money that it's tough to really convince members of Congress that they need to be more fiscally responsible. Now, there are some. There's a little bit of good news following all this pig book stuff. The Senate Republicans voted a couple of weeks ago to agree to a permanent ban on earmarks. Right now they have a moratorium. We still find earmarks because our definition is different, and as I mentioned, it's gotten worse over the last couple of years. But Senate Republicans took notice and said, look, we're just not going to ask for any of them under our rules as long as we are in charge of the Senate. Not a law, just a rule, but it's the first time any group of members has said enough is enough with these earmarks.
Yeah, and there needs to be somebody stepping up and just taking responsibility of the checkbook. Let's look at some of this other wackiness. $65 million for the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund. Third consecutive year that Trump said, maybe eliminating it because it's a good thing to do. It favors a lot of other things. $65 million, that's a lot of cash.
Well, sure. And in this case, we're pretty sure that the Senate Appropriations Committee member Patty Murray of Washington, who asked for the money last July, she issued a press release saying that she successfully restored funding for the program. It's pretty rare to find the names of members of Congress who support these projects because they are no longer required to do so. There's no transparency because they claim that they're not earmarks. Even though they were before the moratorium took effect, they're saying, no, we say there's a moratorium, you must believe us. So therefore, we're not going to tell you who added these things.
That right there is a perfect example of when people talk about the swamp, that you don't have to put your name to something still to get it and benefit from it. And that's because it's all about accountability. And I just sit back there and I shake my head. I was reading one of these things. Is it the East-West, North-South Center? And one of them has been essentially eliminated from federal funding in 2001, but the other one's still getting some cash.
Right. The North-South Center stopped receiving federal funding in 2001. The East-West Center continues to do so. In this case, it was very much added by Senator Brian Schatz, no relation. The former Senator Inouye, who passed away in 2013, he was the centrist champion for many, many years. This $16.7 million is the entire federal budget for this center, and that means the State Department didn't ask for it. They really never have. The president wanted to get rid of it, and yet Senator Schatz decided on his own that he wanted it.
What is exactly the East-West Center? I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it does.
Well, it does essentially what the State Department does, which is to try to improve relations between the East and the West. Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere. That's the job of the State Department. That's why we have diplomats. That's why we have other programs, and AID and USAID and all these other expenditures, tens of billions of dollars that go to foreign aid. We just don't need this being funded separately. It's a private operation.
Yeah, exactly. Private operations. Nothing wrong with that. But, government likes to be involved in everything. As we talked to Tom Schatz, he's the president of Citizens Against Government Waste. The 2019 Congressional Pig Book is out right now. We're talking about waste. And it is so much waste. It's so crazy because my thing is, and this is why I understand why people get frustrated with taxes and why we don't want more taxes, because we're sick and tired of people taking our money and not doing the thing that they should be. I mean, if you were a fiduciary, and you know this better than anything, Tom, if you were a fiduciary, you're supposed to take responsibility for this money in a way that as if it's your own, but because it's other people's money, you got to get everything you possibly can. And I'm just always amazed that we don't hear more people say, well, wait a minute here. We've got people who are struggling. We got Los Angeles and Seattle and many other big cities have a massive homeless problem. We're fighting this situation here with healthcare and the rising cost of healthcare, and you're wasting, a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. But as you said, all adds up. I mean, $9 million for what? Fruit fly program? Huh?
$9 million for fruit fly quarantine. They have not spent money on fruit flies for the past 10 years as an earmark. So where have they been? I've noticed them in my house. They shouldn't be adding this money. They've done it in the past, but this is, out of the Congressional Pig Book summary, which are the highlights of the 282 earmarks costing $15.3 billion across the appropriations bills, the summary picks out the most egregious. Almost half of them were equal to or greater than the record amounts of prior earmarks. So as I said, they've more than doubled over the past 2 years, and something needs to be done beyond just the Senate Republicans agreeing that they should have a permanent ban. Democrats need to follow suit, and then they need to get it as a law, not just a rules change.
I noticed when you were at the hotel there and you're rolling this thing out, I see you had Ben Sass, Rand Paul, you had Bud and a few other people there. All have R's by their name. I don't see any D's by their name. And why is that?
Well, we always invite whoever wants to come along. We have not had Democrats for many, many years. I'd say probably close to 15 or 20 since we've been doing this since 1991. It used to be a little bit more bipartisan, but remember there are three parties in Washington, Democrats, Republicans, and appropriators. The appropriators have a bipartisan agreement to add these earmarks. So when former Senator, the late Senator Ted Stevens was chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Alaska got the most money. When the late Senator Robert Byrd was head of the Appropriations Committee, West Virginia got the most money, or the most money per capita. In those days, it was easier to trace who was getting the pork. But that's the way it has always worked. They just look at each other and say, hey, you got a project, I want a project. Okay. They don't say no.
It flabbergasts me. Again, the amount of money we waste year in and year out, Tom, is ridiculous. Going forward, what would you like to see have happen? I mean, obviously there's going to be some money grab here and there, but how do we get these people to pay better attention to where this money's going, and how? And by that I mean the people out there who aren't in Washington, who aren't around seeing all of this money that goes to agencies that are duplicate agencies or pet projects, because that's what we need. We need the people to stand up and say, well, wait a minute here. We got a real problem with you guys. You already waste money doing other things that we think are necessary, and you don't spend it right. Now you're spending money on things like salmon and, and burro and horses, and it's just insane.
Well, one good thing is that we have gotten a much stronger response on social media than last year, really 2.5 times as much interest about the Pig Book. And then our Facebook and Twitter response has been great. I've been on Fox Business. I was on C-SPAN, TV coverage in 35 states. So there is a lot more going on out there. And, of course, with social media, it's a great opportunity for everybody to let their elected officials know what's going on. So if you want to retweet what we've sent out or make a comment, send an email to your legislator, please do that so that they know you're watching what they're doing and how they're wasting your money.
People want to get a hold of you, check out the book. How do they do that?
It's at pigbook.org, and you can look at the Pig Book, and then you can see a link to our website, cagw.org, and look at our other material as well.
Always good to talk to you, Tom, and you can tell everybody, hey, enjoy the Pig Book because there's lots of it, and God only knows what we're going to do next year. Tom Schatz, President of Citizens Against Government Waste in the 2019 Congressional Pig Book. Appreciate you coming on today, Tom.
Thanks.
At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. And it's, when you break it down, is it a ton of money? No, it's not like it's like $16 billion, give or take. But still, when you think about all of the stuff that we fight over on a day-to-day basis, and what 100 million would do here and 200 million would do there, and we're fighting over this, that, and the other. We're fighting over $5.6 billion over a damn wall. You can do 3 of these walls. It's the insanity of the money that's wasted. And this is stuff that's not necessary. Think about the things that are necessary and the money that's wasted there because it's just not implemented correctly, or we continue to throw bad money after good money. And then good money, and then it's frustrating. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
If this works, it would be like getting injected with Calm, a vaccine for stress. And this study, cells that normally would get inflamed when they're triggered by something stressful didn't after they were injected with a fatty acid isolated from bacteria that already had shown potential for reducing stress in other studies. Here, researchers stopped those cells from secreting stress hormones and triggering that fight or flight feeling. The findings, published in the journal Psychopharmacology, could move science a step closer to preventing disorders like PTSD.
Whoa, a stress vaccine. I repeat, a stress vaccine. We can be stressful no more thanks to the vaccine, unless you're an anti-vaxxer. Although I think this would be more towards adults. So you would have the opportunity to decide for yourself rather than a child if you want less stress. I know people are saying, dude, don't we have weed and edibles and all kinds of things that you can take for that? Yes, but this would be a shot, so you wouldn't even have to worry. The stress no more. It would just be like calm washing over your body. Say what? Oh, yeah. Producer Phil, mind the world. Just tell everybody what may happen should you go into the wild. Nature
will mess you up.
Will mess you up.
It's becoming an all too familiar call to emergency responders along the North Carolina coast.
I respond in reference to a shark bite. It's going to be in the area of 845 South Bald Head Wind, 845 South Bald Head Wind.
The 8-year-old boy was swimming at South Beach on Bald Head Island when he was apparently bitten on the leg. Lucky for him, the wounds weren't life-threatening. He was taken off the island by scheduled ferry and hospitalized in the nearby town of Southport on the mainland. This is the 3rd time this month a North Carolina swimmer has suffered a shark bite. In one case, the victim lost a leg.
Yeah, 3 times this month this has taken place. Brittany Winters, we talked about her. She lost a leg and 2 fingers. And she is like totally she doesn't want sharks destroyed. She's making the best of it and then some. But, this is what happens. Warm time of the year. We're having more and more people go out to the ocean. And you're also in a place in the Carolinas, along the coast there, through Florida and whatnot, where you're dealing with the most aggressive of all sharks, which is the bull shark. Oh, yeah. He's badass. She's a badass. They're aggressive, and they don't take none, and they're just, it's not like, see, a great white kills you because of the size. It comes in, it takes it doesn't have thumbs, right? It doesn't have hands. So it's like, hey, I need to see what you are because I'm hungry and I'm going to take a bite. Oh, I am so bad. By then, though, you've lost something and you're in a real issue, right? But when people talk about shark attacks in like 3 feet of water, it's usually a bull shark. And there's more and more of them. And again, they're very, very aggressive and they're coming for you. I'm just kidding. They're not coming for you. But they will take a bite. All because they just want to go, what exactly are you about? And then they're like, you're gross. You're totally not keto. I'm keto, and you're not keto. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. If you haven't heard, more troops are moving.
The 1,000 new troops will mostly be part of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance units, as well as force protection, according to a U.S. official. In a statement, Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan called the move defensive, saying Iran's recent attacks validate the intelligence the U.S. received about threats to U.S. personnel and interests in the region. The U.S. blames Iran for last week's attack on 2 tankers in the Gulf of Oman and 4 other ships in May.
Yeah, so right now, 1,000 troops are going to be heading over to the Middle East to try to, I think, calm some things down. Iran is having some serious issues right now when it comes to this embargo. They're already talking about producing more and more of the stuff they need to make potentially a nuclear weapon, and they're pushing the envelope of what's left of that piece of paper that Obama and everybody pushed through. While we're not in it, the Europeans are, and they said they basically have 10 days or else. Ooh, yeah, 10 days or else. We shall see what takes place. But Adam Schiff, who is not a fan of the president or this administration, came out this weekend and said there's no doubt that Iran did this. No doubt that Iran did this. He is the juice. He's officially loose. Say what? And he's getting ready to tweet.
Coming soon to Twitter, you'll get to read all my thoughts and opinions on just about everything. Now, there's a lot of fake OJ accounts out there, so this one, at the real OJ32, is the only official one. So this should be a lot of fun. I got a little getting even to do. So God bless. Take care.
I gotta love it. I got a little even get due. But hey, God bless you all, because I'm going to get even. I just want you guys to know that.
Hey, Twitter world. You know, for years, people have been able to say whatever they want to say about me with no accountability. But now I get to challenge a lot of that BS and set the record straight. More importantly, I'll be able to talk about everything, especially sports, fantasy football, and even politics.
Oh, this should be interesting. Crazy. Now we get to hear what the juice really thinks. What do you think of those apples? Say what? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. We should ask Kim Jong-un. Hey, how do you feel about the juice? We'll send him over. With a handwritten letter from the president. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
When you will see my financial statement at some point, I assume it's going to be released, you'll be very impressed with the job I've done. Much, much bigger, much better than anybody. They're after my financial statement, the Senate. They'd like to get my financial statement. At some point, I hope they get it. You're going to turn it over? No, at some point, I might. But at some point, I hope they get it because it's a fantastic financial statement. Let's do that over. He's coughing in the middle of my answer. Yeah, okay. I don't like that, you know? Your chief of staff. If you're going to cough, please leave the room. Get a shot of...
Oh, again, chief of staff, right? This wasn't somebody working for ABC or anything. It was chief of staff that was coughing and talking about his financials. So get out of the room, right? Go ahead, which made me laugh. But he finishes.
So at some point, I look forward to, frankly, I'd like to have people see my financial statement because it's phenomenal. No, it's not up to me. It's up to lawyers. It's up to everything else. But they're asking for things that they should never be asking for, that they've never asked another president for. They want to go through every deal that I've ever done. What they're doing is a disgrace.
Look, I will say this. It is up to you, Trump. And on the other side of things, you guys are asking for stuff that has zero to do with anything. So meet in the middle and figure something out. If this is what I will tell you this over and over again. I don't care. I know some people, I don't care if I see anybody else's financials. I don't care. Means nothing to me. It doesn't. For a lot of people, it does because they feel that some way, shape, or form, Russia, the Saudis, somebody has something over Trump because they've loaned them money, they've done something, there's some sort of bad deal. It's another way to try to get at Trump. I myself, I didn't care about the Clintons. I don't care about the Obamas when it comes to their financials. I didn't care about any of them. If you want to, if it's that important, go ahead. But here's my thing. I think what we're doing right now is we're laying a roadmap on how to make things so miserable for the person who's in the White House. Good, bad, or indifferent. Some of it is necessary, but a lot of it is overkill. And I think what we're going to do now, and I think that's the big fear of impeachment, is where do we go? Because if we go into this world where this is what it's going to be, is impeachment, that every time, and I think Bill Maher said it great, that this is just another situation where now we're going to come after the other side. And it is frustrating. It is. It is really frustrating. If you want Trump gone, vote him out. Opportunities here. Investigating and asking for things that are ridiculous, I don't think does anybody any good. Painting this picture that everything he's ever done in his life is nothing but criminal. But what's going to happen? That's a big question. I think that, look, right now Nancy's got an issue, and the issue is trying to keep the wolves at bay while trying to hope at some point in time that the politics and the people decide that together they want him impeached. And until that happens, she's got to try to placate. She's got to talk tough, knowing full well that she can't go about doing this because this isn't going to help the country and may paint him as a martyr and a victim and may hurt 2020 for the candidates.
There's always the possibility that you open an impeachment inquiry and it does not result in a referral. Mm-hmm. That we open the inquiry.
Wouldn't that be a victory for
look at everything?
Trump too, though?
I think that this is about us doing our jobs.
There you go. And now everybody's going to say that. Us doing our jobs. Us doing our jobs. Us doing our jobs. We didn't investigate enough. And that's just it. What you're going to find on the right side of the aisle is them saying, look, the media, you guys came hard. You guys didn't investigate anything when it comes to this president. So we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to go harder. Look what you did to Trump, but you didn't do it to this. I mean, it's a joke. And I think we're laying the groundwork here of a battle that is going to happen over and over and over again. And I don't think it's a good look for anybody. I don't. If you want to beat him, you know exactly where to do it. at the polls next year. Speaking of polls,
the president launching his re-election campaign officially this week, but then already now some reported changes in that re-election campaign.
Yeah, Fred, this all has to do with some polling that leaked this week. There were reports out last week that indicated that President Trump was losing in certain key states to prominent Democrats, including Joe Biden, states that the president won back in 2016. The president denied that, saying that he was winning in every internal poll. But apparently, the president grew furious when those polls actually leaked and showed the president losing in those key states.
Yeah, now Trump's has denied that any of these things were out there, any of these polls were out there at all, and he continues to deny it. And yeah, I'm sorry, they're real. They're real. These numbers are real. But I prefaced this was you were getting your ass kicked, and you weren't even at this point in time, like 3 years ago, nobody took you serious just yet. It wasn't until you got into the heart of it, the meat of it, the battles had begun on stage. You were making more and more noise. You were on every single place because you were must-see television, that those numbers changed. We're 18 months away from anything. But let's not pretend that your numbers are great.
Even your own polls show you're behind right now, don't they?
No, my polls show that I'm winning everywhere.
I don't know. We've all seen these reports that 15 out of 17 states you spent $2 million on a poll and you're behind in 15 out of 17 states.
Nobody showed you those polls because those polls don't exist, George. Those polls don't exist.
Yes, they do. They do exist.
Now we're learning, according to two campaign officials, that certain pollsters doing work for the campaign are being fired. One official, though, told CNN that they lament that now the campaign is more focused on ending the leak and trying to find who gave this information to the press than it is on trying to improve the president's numbers in key states like Pittsburgh and Florida.
So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens with the pollsters and how he's going to go about doing this. I still think we're 18 months away. We're a year away from polls actually mattering because as far as I'm concerned, you have to be down to the top 2 or 3 to really matter because it's fun to say Buttigieg or Hickenlooper or whoever. But when you have to face off against somebody, it is a different thing. It really is. Even Fox polls have him getting his ass kicked right now. Let's be real. But 18 months is a long way away from anything really happening. So we have to pay attention. And the last polls, 538 even said over the weekend, polls in this day and age are much different comparatively to polls from years gone by. And you just can't, I don't think you can believe it just yet. I'm not saying that these things don't matter because they do matter, but they'll matter far more in 6 months, 12 months, 15 months than they do right now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Issues with Iran.
I started to count down from today. So we are starting today from 10 and the 10th day we will, of course, surpass this level of 300 kilograms.
Yeah. What's happening is they're starting to ramp up again. They have given a time frame. Right now, they were struggling economically. The thing, us getting out and backing out of the deal and then putting sanctions on and then warning people like Japan, hey, guess what? Don't buy any of their oil. Don't buy any of their oil. Do not do it. Japan's one of the few free nations that have anything to do with Iran. And them not buying oil because of fear of them getting to some sort of mini trade war with us or having sanctions put on is a big deal. They're feeling it, and now they're telling the European unions, guess what?
The next 10 days, Iran will break the uranium stockpile limit that was set by that 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. This is a first. The Trump administration had already withdrawn from the deal, but Iran has stayed within the limits. And of course, President Trump has warned that the U.S. will not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
And it's an ugly situation when everybody thinks we're the ones who don't want them to get a nuclear weapon more than anybody else. No, Saudi Arabia and Israel probably on top of that list. Second is us. And are we headed to a showdown? I think a lot of people are asking that question. Are we headed to a showdown? I don't think we're headed to a showdown, but let's not pretend that they never really want it. They want it for peaceful Peaceful things only. That's it. Let's not pretend. They want to dominate the region. They want to shape the region as their own. They want to have their fingerprints all over everything. So let's not pretend. Last week, you saw 2 tankers. I saw a lot of people over the weekend. It's all a lie. It's all fake. It's all lies. Our intelligence agency lies. America's horrible. Blah, 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 blah. I saw a ton of people. And even Adam Schiff, who cannot stand the president, come out and go, oh, yeah, it's Iran. It's Iran. I'm amazed at how many people want us to fail. How many Americans want us to fail at everything? I'm always amazed at that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Boeing struggling big time. Their CEO.
We have taken the time to do this right. We are confident this will help ensure accidents like this never happen again.
Yeah, they have basically said, there was 2 big issues here. It is our fault. They have fallen behind Airbus, and this is ugly. Think about this. Boeing had a ton of orders out there in the billions and billions of dollars that are being put on hold or may never get filled. They're trying to fix this as fast as possible. They were talking this weekend about, hey, we're going to have all of our senior CEOs and officials and everybody flying on these planes along with their families to show you how safe it is. It doesn't matter. That damage has been absolutely done to Boeing. And it's going to take them years to climb out of this. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Men, we're not good at taking care of ourselves in many ways. Right? You get injured. What do? Rub a little dirt on it? I don't need to go to the doctor. I'll be fine. And too often not, we wait around, and that's silly. Same thing goes with ED. 70% of guys who experience ED don't get treated for it. Thankfully, Roman created the easiest way to get checked out by a doctor and get treated for ED online. It's simple. It's a one-stop shop Roman's created where licensed U.S. physicians can diagnose ED and ship medication right to your door. There's no waiting rooms, right? You don't go anywhere. No awkward face-to-face, no trips to the pharmacy, none of that stuff. All done in the comfort of your own home. And right now, the visit's totally free. Go to GetRoman.com/Benson. You fill out a dynamic online visit form. You chat with a doctor in the discretion of your own home, right? And if, hey, he or she says, yeah, you've got this, let's do this, they're going to ship medication in unmarked packaging right to your door. The visit is free. It's online right now. GetRoman.com/Benson. 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 It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show, where we make no apologies, although we do say a few Hail Marys and Our Fathers now and then. Amen.
The case involves an Oregon bakery owner who claims the state drove them out of business after they refused to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple. The state had ruled the bakery violated anti-discrimination laws and awarded the couple getting married $135,000. Today, the Supreme Court scrapped the appeals verdict in favor of the same-sex couple and told the lower court to re-examine that case in light of their ruling from last year involving Masterpiece Cake Shop, where the court had ruled the state's Civil Rights Commission failed to show, quote, religious neutrality that the Constitution requires.
SCOTUS hearing a lot of different things over the next coming days. This is when they roll out a bunch of these. Gerrymandering today surprised a lot of people in the way that they went for that they're going to have to redraw districts based on different things. The Republicans are going to basically, it's a loss for the GOP on this and a win for the Democrats. You've got several different cases that are going to be heard, including some immigration cases. So this will be very interesting to see what happens in the coming days, because some of these cases are surprising because you're having people like Gorsuch and Ginsburg who are agreeing on some stuff. And it's a very different way that I think a lot of people thought this may go, because they thought it was going to be 5-4 everything. And you're finding out it's not that way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Hong Kong is having some serious issues over there, and the fight is on to stop a law that would essentially send anybody who commits a crime in Hong Kong over to China to be tried, which is scary.
The first two of Carrie Lam's allies who broke rank with her on Friday were members of the business community. One of them, her main advisor, publicly said that they underestimated their concerns over the extradition bill. Also, there is Beijing. China's President Xi Jinping is possibly meeting President Trump right there at the G20 in 2 weeks. And the last thing that he wants is unrest in Hong Kong as a backdrop.
Yeah, and it's a scary situation if you're in Hong Kong, because they can use this now to eliminate their rivals or anybody that would speak up against the Chinese government. Remember, in 97, they were handed over basically from Britain to to China, and they were supposed to be somewhat hands-off. But over the last 5-10 years, it has really ramped up. Now, if you want to run for office in certain areas, they've got to be approved. These are the people that can run for office. And so they're slowly but surely imposing themselves more and more in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's like the 22nd largest economy. It is a huge hub financially for a lot of companies. So imagine what you could do with trumped up charges, forcing people to go to the mainland to hear those charges. You could easily silence all of your critics. And on top of that, any of your business adversaries, if you're big with the Chinese government and you've got business dealings, and maybe, just maybe, there's somebody on the other side over in Hong Kong who also does business very similar to yours, you could have them brought up on trumped up charges. Million plus people took to the streets. That'd be like 50 to 60 million here. And it's not ending anytime soon. They want this pulled, not just shelved for now. And the thought process is if Hong Kong ends up going down, essentially, and China exerts more and more pressure, it's only a matter of time before Taiwan once again becomes the focus of China. And then the world's going to have to make a decision at that point. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Phoenix, national headline news. Another incident with police. The battle is on. Jay-Z's even getting involved. Do we know everything about the story? Do we not know? The U.S. women's national team played yesterday. Talk a bit about that as well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Tonight, Phoenix police on the defensive. The city's mayor lashing out after this chilling video. Cops heard threatening to shoot a pregnant woman with 2 young children in her arms. The alleged crime that brought police to the scene, their 4-year-old allegedly stealing a doll from a dollar store. Today, the police chief saying sorry and that the incident is under investigation.
I apologize to the family. I apologize to the community. But at the end of the day, there's more to the story.
Yes, a national story now. An incident that took place in Phoenix has become a national story with famous people and everybody chiming in. Today, Jerry Williams, the chief of police, was on with Jim Sharp at KTAR Morning News and talking about the more to the story, which we're not hearing about. And we need to see the whole story because, like in many of these things, we see a portion of the story. And look, from that portion of the story, oh yeah, the language, the overkill, although I did say last week, sweep the leg. It's not it looks awful. And the adrenaline, and it probably was, does it rise to the amount of $10 million, $2.5 million per person in the car? But all we heard was that a child stole a doll, which everybody who's a parent, right? Everybody, your child has walked out with something and you didn't know about it, right? They've put something somewhere, they've had it, and it's not because they just did, right? Jack has walked out with candy bars and stuff. No. Right? Every parent has gone through this. Did it rise to the level of this? And what is more of the story?
Remember that I still have 2 active investigations going on right now. So we have the pending litigation as well as an internal investigation. So our officers were noticed about adults shoplifting in a store. The manager said, hey, those individuals are shoplifting. Our officers go to make contact. They get in a vehicle and they flee. The vehicle stops the first time and an adult female gets out and we arrest her for warrant.
Okay, so that's the first of the contact. Arrest somebody for warrant, right? And then later on, we see the cameras. People filming on their phones, and it goes from there. Is it ugly? Absolutely. Is it a bad look for a police force that is under pressure and a police chief that's under pressure? An African-American police chief, female, by the way. People are calling for a resignation. Less than 2 weeks after a report came out that several cities and their police force across the country, they've monitored their Facebook, and that they had been posting not the city Facebook, but the individual police officers had posted things that are racially insensitive and have said some stuff. So you have all of this stuff happening. On top of that, you've got more shootings. It is definitely an issue that is growing, and now the national spotlight is on you. And you've got to figure out what you're going to do. And people are starting to say, hey, this right here was over the top. And I asked somebody today, because Chief Jerry Williams was here a little while ago. I'm out in Phoenix, and she's here a little while ago. And I said, if the language wasn't so bad, would we be looking at this in a much different way? Because the language was awful. And we take so much into that. The way people are spoken to, the language, the whole 9 yards. If that isn't there, does it look like a different thing? And some people around are like, yeah, it probably does. But there's no denying that this was an ugly look.
Police claim that 24-year-old Aisha Harper and her 22-year-old fiancé Drayvon Ames stole other items, refused police commands, and that officers feared they were armed.
When I tell you to do something, you do it.
But at one point, an officer is filmed kicking Ames. Harper accuses police of trying to grab her child, claiming the toddler's arm was injured before she briefly was forced to give her baby to a total stranger.
It was just a scary situation. I never thought I'd be in. Traumatizing for me and my daughter.
Yeah, it was. Let's be real. It was. That situation, it was ugly. There's no doubt about it. But now you've got people coming forward that are making this a massive story on a police force right now that has several black eyes when it comes to how they've been dealing with things, from social media to police shootings and other situations. This is not good when now the world is paying attention to what's going on.
Jay-Z is now offering the couple legal help. His company Roc Nation released a statement calling the video the picture of hate, adding, if they need our help, we are at their disposal.
Yeah. You got Jay-Z, then you've got Al Sharpton.
I think about that young man talking about his child, and this is their first interaction
and a dog
with police. That's the life lesson that child is being taught, is that in that moment, that police officer was trying to hurt her and to hurt her parents. That's unacceptable.
But what's the whole story? How did this? Because originally it was they stole something, a doll that nobody knew, and by the way, nobody was charged. Right? Nobody was charged. They impounded the car. He was driving on a suspended license, but nobody was taken to jail. The people at the dollar store said, we're not going to press charges. The police weren't even there for that. They were there for something else when somebody said, hey, those people shoplifted. And where does it go from here? It's a touchy situation. But when you've had so many situations pop up, you say, these aren't situations. These aren't one-offs. These feel like patterns. And how do you fix these patterns? And that's a very big question. It really is. But here's something else where you've got police. It's become a race issue. You've got celebrities weighing into this. It's being looked at. I saw this in The Guardian and several other places worldwide. This is not a good look. But how much of the story do we know and don't we know? I watched my favorite show, as always, Live PD over the weekend. And I watched this one. I was telling producer Anthony. So this guy has pulled somebody over, and he's got a couple of people in the car. The door's open on the car, and a guy takes off running. So the cop gives chase, right? In tow with the live PD guy. And by the way, the cop didn't look really out of shape, but he was dying after about 400 yards. Then he had to run through mud and water to catch this guy. And you're like, oh, this just doesn't look good. And there's a little scuffle. Sure enough, the guy on him has a gun. And as I said, one's in the chamber. Do you know or do you not know? You don't know what people are going to do and not do. And he gave the guy a nice little wacky kick too. And you're thinking the entire time, oh my God. But adrenaline, so many things take over in that situation. Doesn't make it right. But this is another situation where we've got black people who are being accused of something, officers in pursuit, white officers, a kick, a portion of the incident, and now it's national and world news for a already struggling police force when it comes to how they look. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Not struggling is the U.S. women's soccer team. I watched the game yesterday.
This really is the best version of me that there ever has been. And, I know that my ability is there. I know I can contribute, whether that's starting, playing a 90, whether that's coming off the bench. I'm going to be ready. So we'll see what happens, but I will be ready for anything.
Yeah, they won 3-0 yesterday over Chile. I will say this. It should have been 7-8-9. They hit the post 3 or 4 times. The Chilean goalie was out of her mind. Some of the saves she made it was ridiculous. But, after the first couple goals, they were doing golf claps. And they said that's kind of just, that's the clap back to the people who were vocal critics of the way that the U.S. team was towards the Thailand team. Thailand, by the way, lost 5-1. They scored a goal at least against Sweden. We play Sweden next, and that was the big thing. It's all about goal differential. Sweden's still not us.
We knew going into this it was going to take 23 players. It's still going to take 23 players to win this. But now we got to roll the sleeves up because we got a mountain to climb. And Sweden's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough match. We've obviously, made it into the knockout rounds, but we got to take care of Sweden first. And, one game at a time.
There you go. And they will take care of Sweden. It'll be their toughest game so far, but they'll take care of Sweden. And I think looking back, no matter how just to show you how deep we are in this sport, again, it was a huge, massive change. We brought everybody's played but the 2 backup goalies. The second best team potentially in the World Cup is the reserves of the Americans. The second best team. That's how good we are. It's crazy. So, but I like the golf clap. I thought it was funny. Go ahead. It's very interesting. Go ahead and see what happens, right? I hope we do well. I think that looking at this, I think the only team that has a real chance of beating us is France. And that's because they're at home. I read a great article over the weekend about how much they were going through and they were looking at athletes, how they prepare, how elite athletes become super athletes, and their preparation, how they focus, how they visualize, how they do something. And also talked about how having a home crowd behind you can raise your level. And that happens a lot of times when it comes to sports, especially like World Cups and the Olympics. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, it raises the level to you do things that you don't think you can do because of that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Oh, man, I tell you what. Who will she support is the question. AOC is being asked left, right, and center because a lot of, she is right now the barometer, I think, for a lot of these big progressives, that how she goes is going to really determine how 2 people in particular go facing off against Biden.
We haven't even had our first debates yet. I'm very interested in seeing how things play out. What we really need right now is a presidential candidate that is going to fight for the well-being of working class Americans and all Americans. And I think that he does that excellently. I think his policies do that excellently. I believe Senator Warren's policies do that excellently. And I think that that's really what we need to be looking for in terms of the agenda.
The agenda, right? Which is a big agenda.
When we talk about the agenda, for me, that agenda means the right to health care. It means a $15 minimum wage pegged to inflation. It means making sure that we can make college accessible to all people. It means having foreign policy that is focused on peace building and stability. And that is what I am looking for, really, in a candidate for.
That all sounds good. And I just think that Elizabeth Warren is going to get her nod because I think Elizabeth is trying. I think Bernie's trying to do what Bernie does, which is just be Bernie. And you know, people asked him over the weekend about his poll numbers because according to a lot of poll numbers, Biden's kind of whooping up on him.
You, sir, have dropped sharply from 23% support in March to 13% now. How do you explain it?
Explain it in the sense that polls go up and polls go down.
Yeah. Polls go up, polls go down. That's the truth. And despite what, you know, you're hearing about Trump falling behind like 6 or 7 candidates, if there was to be an election today, I don't think that's real, right? I think Biden would give him a run for his money at this point. Maybe Bernie a little bit, but I still think people have a middle America still has issues with socialism the way that Bernie's pushing it. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But, you know, we're still 18 months away. 18 months away, but I still think AOC is going to give it to Warren because I think Warren really wants it and she's really coming after. I think Bernie's just being Bernie because he's a crazy old man that's fun, right? Crazy old Bernie. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That kids is your Twitter. So burglars, right? Not the Hamburglar, but actual burglars are asked, how do you choose your house? What do people want? They want the path of least resistance. So what do? They knock. Right? They knock on the door, and if somebody's home, they bounce. If nobody's home, they know, okay, this is the path of least resistance. That's where Blink comes in. Blink XT2 cameras. They detect motion, and when someone gets near your camera, you get an alert on your Blink smartphone app, you get a video clip, and there's a 2-way talk feature lets you talk to who's ever there. So if the delivery guy's there, you can say, hey, you know what, I can drop it off my neighbor's house. If it's the kids, hey, kids, go around the back. I've left the back door, whatever it is. But if it's somebody bad, you can say, you need to get away right now. I'm going to call the police. Oh, yeah. Easy to set up these Blink cameras. I'm talking about sets up in minutes, wire-free, run on 2 lithium batteries, last up to 2 years. Blink XT2 cameras start under $100. There's no contracts. There's no subscriptions. Totally affordable. Thank you, Blink. Home security just got easier. Visit blinkprotect.com/Benson. 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 Blink cameras are available at Amazon and at Best Buy. Blink's an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
If this works, it would be like getting injected with Calm, a vaccine for stress. And this study, cells that normally would get inflamed when they're triggered by something stressful didn't after they were injected with a fatty acid isolated from bacteria that already had shown potential for reducing stress in other studies. Here, researchers stopped those cells from secreting stress hormones and triggering that fight or flight feeling. The findings, published in the journal Psychopharmacology, could move science a step closer to preventing disorders like PTSD.
Whoa! Would you do that? What if you're a vaxxer, anti-vaxxer? Would you not do that? Right? Would you not do that? And who are you going to get this for? Like, is this? I feel like this is an older vaccination. Like when you're a child, what are you stressed about? Jack's here visiting me. He's got nothing going on that's stressful in his life. Being 9 and running around, swimming all day, just doing the best things. There's no stress there. Zero stress. Like you're stressed at 9. You're like, really got to put it out there, right? Like I grew up pretty poor in a nasty situation at times. I will tell you, I don't remember being super stressed because I was like young and living it. The world was in front of me. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. The N-word is trending. And the reason is because people are debating who can and can't say something. A Parkland shooting survivor named Kyle Kashuv, who was at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, has had his Harvard acceptance rescinded because stuff has been dug up about him that he supposedly said in text or tweets a few years ago, and now they've dug stuff up, and it's here goes the debate, right? Here goes the debate. And the debate is going to take off, and people are going to say, you know, how was it meant, and was it, and should we punish people in certain times? And Ralph Northam still gets to be the governor of Virginia with blackface, and you have all of this stuff that's going on, and he's apologized for it, and he said there were callous comments I made privately when I was 16 years old, months before the shooting. I was trying to be extreme and shocking as possible. He apologized. It's not enough in this day and age. There is no forgiveness for you. You shall be punished forever. Ridiculous. Should you be punished for something you did when you were 16 forever? That didn't involve killing or any of this insanity? No. Well, in this day and age of being woke, yes. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Your useless fact today comes from our good friend, producer Phil. When you landed from the moon, you had to go through customs. And I've got the general declaration right here. It says departure, moon, arrival, Honolulu, Hawaii. Has everybody signed off here? Yes, you had to fill out a customs form once you came back from the moon. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you again mañana. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.